We're taking all the best old school wisdom and blending it with the top new school methods to bring you the optimal coaching strategies. This is the 80-20 Baseball Podcast with Coach Bo.
Welcome, coaches, parents, players. Welcome to this week's get-together here at 80-20 Baseball. I do hope that your 2023 is off to a great start. And I know the youth baseball season, not too far away. Getting excited here. Speaking of 2023, it's crazy to think that we're already into our fourth year with this podcast, 3+ years now, working on our fourth year. The interest was much higher than I anticipated, and so I've kept going with it. I just got a couple emails in the last couple days of coaches reaching out saying how much they appreciate the show, how much they're learning, how much it's helping them, and that fires me up. And these are coaches from all over, and not just in the United States, but other countries as well. So it just fires me up. And 2023, going into our fourth year here at the 80-20 Baseball Podcast. Now, if you came here for the same old baseball coaching pointers, or if you came here for the new shiny, flashy coaching method, then this is not the place for you. Just going to be upfront. It's not the place. We question conventional wisdom and either improve it, at a minimum we improve it, or pivot when the evidence tells us to. We don't get hypnotized by new shiny objects in the baseball world, the new shiny coaching methods. We are never contrarians just to be different, but we never follow sheepishly without taking a step back and asking the key questions. And those key questions are always centered around our coaching compass that's directing us. And they're always aligned with our three main goals. Number one, and I'm going to go reverse order of importance. Number one, maximizing production on offense for each hitter and for the team, i.e. scoring runs. Number two, maximizing the potential, our players' potential, our kids' potential on the mound and on defense, maximizing our team's production or potential on defense, i.e. minimizing opponent runs. And three, most important of all, consistently leading the youth, our kids, our players towards becoming well-rounded and solid adults through the fun gamified vehicle of youth baseball. So if you came here for the same old coaching pointers that you were coached up on 30 years ago or 20 years ago, this isn't the place for you. Now, will you hear some of those? Sure. But when you hear those coaching pointers, know this, know that we vetted them, we've still questioned all of them. And if you're here for the shiny new flashy object, the shiny new flashy coaching method, this isn't the place for you either. I'm not saying we don't discuss the new or the old, of course we do. But what we do here is we take all the incredible wisdom that's been put forth by coaches that have come before us, and we try to improve it. At the same time, we're also looking for, and inherently, we're looking at things that come about, newer things. Information evolves, our knowledge evolves, the coaching community, it's evolving, as you all know, and we take what comes at us and we vet it. We don't just get hypnotized by it, we vet it. We don't just follow it sheepishly. We ask questions about it, and then we look to embed it, implement it into our coaching system. Speaking of old school baseball, Tony Gwynn, not super old, but definitely older, the late, great Tony Gwynn. Tony Gwynn, as most of you all know, one of the better hitters of the last 50 years. Last week, I shared out how the evidence, the clear evidence, the stat weighted runs created plus, which essentially includes everything that a hitter would do at the plate to help produce runs. Essentially, it's how much do they produce or how much do they contribute as a hitter on offense to their team's run production. It quantifies their production, and so you have things like batting average and RBIs and home runs and on base and slugging and OPS and all those things, but all of those are just substats. They're just substats. And I think it's important that we keep that in mind. So I talked about how Tony Gwynn, based on the evidence, not emotion. Again, I grew up watching baseball in the 80s. Some of you remember TWIB, This Week in Baseball. That was my baseball show. I would watch that every weekend. I can still remember the music like it was yesterday and the voice of Mel Allen. Like many of you, that was one of my go-to shows growing up. That was all old school. That was all old school baseball. Went to games, started back in 1985, started keeping score in 85, 86, started keeping score at Major League games, going to those games. I like old school baseball. And Tony Gwynn is definitely old school, at least relative to contemporary times, but the evidence shows that he was overrated as a hitter. Weighted runs created plus encapsulates his contribution to his team's offense, which the goal is to score runs. The goal is not to get singles. The goal is not to avoid striking out. And those are good. Getting hits is good. And not striking out, that's good. But run production is the ultimate good when it comes to hitting and offense. So we talked about that. And I wanted to hit on weighted runs created plus versus pitching ERA this week. So pitching ERA, like ERA, that stat is much more indicative of a pitcher's success and much more accurate. How many runs did that pitcher give up? Runs. It's centered around the main stat. Like I said, all the other things are substats. Strikeout percentage, walk percentage for hitting, on base percentage, OPS. Those are all substats. The only stat that truly matters, is how many runs your team scores, how much run production does one player, say your kid, contribute and produce, and on defense and on the mound, how much do they reduce? How much do they minimize? How much do they prevent the other team from scoring? How many earned runs did they give up? Now, there are some flaws with earned run average, but ERA was much closer, to being used or usable by, say, youth baseball to assess how well your pitcher is doing, your kid, your player is doing on the mound. Another stat was fielding percentage, and we're going to hit on that next week and where there's some flaws with fielding percentage. I even saw a stat just today. I was reading about fielding percentage from a player from the 70s, and it said like he had one error and so many attempts, and his field percentage was .991. But I don't even know why they get to this .991. Why don't we just say 99%? Always weird how baseball has been like, he was a 385 batting average. Can we just say 39%? Anyways, I digress. But the weighted runs created plus stat showed, and I got that from Fangraphs. So that's Fangraphs version. So it's really the FW runs created plus. And I'm a big fan of Fangraphs when it comes to stats. It's a deep dive. Most of you don't need to go get into that stuff. I enjoy it because this is what I do. What I mean by that is I dive into the baseball stuff. I dive into the coaching and the baseball strategy stuff so I can sift through it, organize it, vet it, prioritize it, and put it into an organized fashion to bring it to you so it's easy to implement. Because most of you aren't coaches by trade. Most of you, almost all of you, have other day jobs, a business, but you're all very intelligent. So you can understand all this, but it's not something you have the time to go dive into. So that's one of the things that we've done here. And weighted runs created plus on Fangraphs is a great stat to kind of encapsulate, to put all the run creation into one stat. And Tony Gwynn, he was down that list. He was down the list. Ranked number 63 over the last 50 years alone. That doesn't count Ted Williams, Mickey Mantle, Willie Mays, Babe Ruth, all those greats. So just something to keep in mind. Tony Gwynn, compared to the general baseball player, yeah, he was unbelievable. And at the major league level, he was great, but he wasn't a top 10 hitter. And I think most people would consider him a top 10 hitter, including me. I would have considered him a top 10 hitter until about 10 years ago or so when I started diving in and breaking down what really is the true goal of a hitter and an offense. It's not batting average. So I got a quote before I jump into a Trevor Lawrence story. Some of you saw this. Maybe you saw this. Trevor Lawrence, the quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm going to dive into that and how we can learn from Trevor Lawrence. Definitely can learn from other sports. We can learn from business. A lot of the 80-20 baseball stuff, and the name 80-20. 80-20 principle is not a baseball thing. It came from old Italian economist Alfredo Pareto. And we put that in and use that to be better coaches, to be better people. And so I'm going to talk about Trevor Lawrence in a second, and you're going to probably hear that or see it, or you've seen it over the last week, some of that stuff, an interview with Trevor Lawrence. We can learn from that as coaches to be better coaches for our players. But I got a quote here first. The quote is, quote, "What I'm trying to do is to maximize the probability of the future being better." End quote. I'll say it again. Quote, "What I'm trying to do is maximize the probability of the future being better." End quote. I don't know if this guy's ever picked up a baseball in his life. Maybe he has. Elon Musk. So Elon Musk has a quote that I truly believe we can learn from here. What I'm trying to do is to maximize the probability of the future being better. That's what we're doing as coaches. That's what we're doing as coaches. We're trying to maximize the probability of our players' preparedness for the upcoming game and for adulthood. We're trying to maximize the probability of our players' preparedness. We're trying to maximize the probability that they become great adults. We're trying to maximize the probability that they have a great game next week, 2 months from now, 3 months from now. When Elon Musk says things like this and other people say things like this, it really piques my interest. Most of you are my age, a little younger, maybe a little older, but you know as you get a little older, it's not black and white. It's not all one way or the other typically. It's about percentages. It's about probabilities, right? Nothing is 100% guaranteed typically one way or the other. You're trying to increase the probability. There's a great book by Annie Duke on poker, and it's titled Thinking in Bets. Your decisions are based on probability. And there was another great book that I read recently. It's a really well-known book. It's called Super Forecasting, The Art and Science of Prediction by Philip Tetlock and Dan Gardner. Some of you have probably read this book. It's a well-known book, New York Times bestseller. And the premise of the book is even the greatest forecasters, predictors in the world, the experts, they use probabilities. They say things like, with an 85% certainty, or with 90% certain, or we are 60% certain this is going to happen. And we can use that mindset when it comes to how we prepare. This quote will help shape our mindset as coaches. It's a mindset of percentages and probability. There's no guarantee. What we're trying to do as a coach is maximize the probability that our team is prepared for the upcoming game and that our players are prepared to be solid adults. There are no guarantees. I think it's important in life, as many of you I'm sure would agree. If a coach, say like even John Wooden, say he had one of his players go get hooked on drugs, that doesn't mean John Wooden was a bad coach. You would look at the overall body, the total number of players that went on to be good people and solid contributing members of society, parents, adults, employees, business people, business owners, mothers, fathers. We would look at the overall percentage. And so this quote from Elon Musk struck me as important to the mindset of a great coach. What we're trying to do is to maximize the probability of our players' future being better, not just on the upcoming game. Yeah, we want it to be better for the upcoming game and the upcoming season, of course. We want it to be better tomorrow than it was today. But we also want to maximize the probability as youth baseball coaches and parents and just youth coaches in general. We're trying to maximize the probability that they are great adults. So this quote fits into that. I'm trying to take from the great minds around the world, from past and present, and trying to bring it into shape and mold our paradigm as coaches, youth coaches, even parents, into being better, into maximizing the probability that we are great coaches, maximize the probability that we're great coaches, or we are at least solid coaches, and we have a high percentage chance of making a positive impact on our players. No guarantees, of course, and things aren't always going to go perfect. Speaking of not going perfect and far from it, I don't know how many of you watched the Jaguars game against the Chargers. I happened to watch this game. My old man, my dad, he's really into football. Now, he grew up a Dodger fan, grew up playing baseball. Baseball was his main sport when he was younger, and we still catch playoff games and things like that, the important games. In fact, him and I went to Game 7 of the World Series when the Astros played the Dodgers. Actually, he came over to our house, and we were watching. He lives a block away. My mom and dad live a block away from us, which is really awesome. And again, my dad was my youth baseball coach, and my mom was my number one supporter, so it's pretty cool. So anyways, we're watching the game last week, the Chargers and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence threw 4 interceptions in the first half. And before I tie this into the message, the learning that we can take out of this to be better coaches ourselves, I'll say this. He kept his emotions in check for the most part for a younger player in the NFL at least, because there were a few, those of you that watch it know exactly what I'm talking about, there were a few plays that very well could have been pass interference calls. You know, the NFL is calling that a lot more. They want to open up the offense. They know fans like scoring, so they get it. Trying to open up offense a little bit more pass interference calls. And there were a few that led to pickoffs or interceptions, I should say, that were pretty bad pass interference infractions, but they weren't called. But Trevor Lawrence kept his emotions in check. He got himself back and he gathered himself. And as I was watching, I thought, wow, it's pretty impressive. He's staying pretty calm and collected. Things weren't going their way, but he kept his cool. And when things aren't going good for us in our games, and there are going to be some ugly moments, no matter how great your team is, even if you have a great team, a very successful season in terms of win-loss, you're still going to have some ugly moments. It just happens. That's how sports is, as you, I'm sure, know, or at least can understand. And so there's going to be these moments where when it rains, it pours, and it was pouring on them. They were getting beat up pretty good. 27-0. And then right before the half, so Chargers are winning 27-0. And right before the half, Jacksonville scored. So it was 27-7 at halftime. And the last piece of context I'll give to you, for those of you that didn't see the game, Jacksonville had the ball 12 times. They had the ball 12 times. Their first possession, 2 plays, interception. Next possession, interception. Next possession, punt. Next possession, 3 plays, interception. Their 5th possession, 3 plays, punt. Their 6th possession, 3 plays, interception. Their 7th possession of the game, 3 and out. 3 plays and a punt. 7 possessions, 4 interceptions, 3 punts, and all 3 punts were 3 and out. You couldn't have a worse first 7 possessions. It's got to be the worst first 7 possessions in the history of the NFL. And I'm not exaggerating. That has to be the worst first 7 possessions. 4 interceptions and 3 punts on 3 and out. With 1 minute and 49 seconds left, they got the ball for the 8th time. Jacksonville scored a touchdown. So their 8th drive, their 8th time touching the ball, they got a touchdown. 9th drive, touchdown. 10th time getting the ball, touchdown. The next time they got the ball, another touchdown. And the last time they got the ball, field goal. The 5 possessions before they got their first touchdown, 5 possessions, 14 yards, 3 punts, 2 interceptions. The last 5 possessions, 31 points. 5 possessions before that, 14 yards. The next 5 possessions, 31 points, and they won the game. Here's the thing. I was shocked with the turnaround. And I think this turnaround just says so much. And I thought, wow, it's amazing, the turnaround. And so I was watching an interview this week. Some of you might have seen this. Trevor Lawrence was talking, and he credited this person with the paradigm shifting mindset, the paradigm shift to the mindset that he had, that it looked to me like he was under this mindset. I thought, man, he's staying pretty cool and calm and collected. It couldn't go any worse. And there's going to be games this upcoming season that are not going well for you and your team. Now, young kids are going to struggle with this because they're not adults. Trevor Lawrence is, 24 years old, 25 years old. He's going to deal with this much better than a 7, 9, 12-year-old. But we can learn from him. He stayed calm when it couldn't have been any worse. He stayed collected when it was as ugly as it could be on one of the biggest stages of somebody's career, and definitely his young career. And you know who he quoted? Jocko Willink. He said he was on the sidelines with his teammates. One of his offensive linemen said to him, "Good. Good. Things are going bad? Good. Throw 4 interceptions? Good. Gain 0 yards? Pretty much the entire first half? Good. Worst outcome you could possibly have after 7 possessions? Good." Now, some of you that aren't familiar, and I'm sure many of you aren't familiar with Jocko, he's got his podcast. It gets a little more in the military, but he's been on a lot of other podcasts. Joe Rogan was a big one. And his message behind the word good, it's a default reaction, a default programming that he recommends everybody have when things aren't going well. And so by saying good when things aren't going well, when your team gives up 6 runs in the first inning, good. It's kind of a weird way of saying it, right? But he's saying, good, let's go. Let's deal with it. Instead of pouting. The opposite is pouting or getting frustrated or slamming your helmet or yelling at the umpire or the ref or feeling bad for yourself or feeling like a victim or just down in the dumps, put your face in your hands, or you got players that are down and out. They're in the dumps. They're losing. It's a countermeasure to that. It's a counter habit. Things are going bad. Good. Good. It's almost like you're embracing the suck, right? You're embracing the bad. You're embracing it. It's not that you're happy that it happened. You're just embracing it. And I think as coaches, this is a really cool thing that we can learn from. When things aren't going good, when the umpire is giving you a bad call or making bad calls, when the other team is just hitting double after double, your pitcher can't throw strikes, good. This is an opportunity to get better. Good. This is an opportunity to learn. Good. Embrace it. Go after it. Don't run from it. Go right to it. It's a time to shine. If anything, besides the Jocko component, and I brought up Jocko on this podcast, it's my #1 recommended coaching book. That goes back like 2 years, maybe 2+ years when I recommended his book. Not Extreme Ownership and not his other popular book, The Dichotomy of Leadership. And he wrote these with Leif Babin, one of his SEAL comrades, one of his SEAL buddies. But the book that I recommended and continue to recommend is Leadership Strategy and Tactics. It has almost 7,000 reviews on Amazon. The rating on it is 4.9. How many of you are familiar? I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with Amazon ratings or just ratings in general out of 5 stars. 7,000 ratings, actually 6,994. So by the end of the week or next week, it'll probably be at 7,000. 4.9, 90% 5-star. There's 0% 1-star. Of course, it does get a little bit into the military stuff, but he does write the book for people that are coaches, that are leaders, that are business people. It's not specifically for somebody who wants to be the next General MacArthur. But what we can learn from Trevor Lawrence is that they didn't panic. And then to find out behind the scenes, what he was talking about on the sidelines was stuff that he had learned from Jocko Willink. It was great to see. I'm telling you, you're here, 80-20 baseball. You may not realize it now. Many of you are. I see the emails and I get so much feedback, positive feedback from so many coaches. You're going to see that we're on to something really great here within the coaching community, the 80-20 baseball mindset, the paradigm, how we go at things, our strategies. You're going to see it. If you haven't already, you're definitely going to see it. You're going to see more and more things popping up like this, or more and more things you're going to come across. Even when you're out there on the field, you're going to go, okay, I get it. You're going to see it. If you don't already see it, you're definitely going to see how this all comes together. Just an amazing way of going about coaching, the 80-20 baseball way, that is. And speaking of way, we're on our way out the door here as this episode comes to an end. I look forward to seeing you back next week. In the meantime, go over, get the drill design guide at 8020baseball.com. Drill design guide, email to you right away. It's a 21-page PDF. Follow on Twitter, 8020_baseball, 8020_baseball on Twitter. Support the podcast. Leave a review, a rating, at a minimum, just a rating. Just help the podcast get out there more and support what we're doing here. You can donate. There's a link on the show notes. Email me your success stories. I love hearing from coaches. Send those my way. Send your questions my way. I'm building out that coaching course. It's on the up and up. We're building that out. That should be launching before most of you start your season. I know some of you sunnier states are going to start sooner than others, but it should be ready before the majority of you start your season. And I'll be sure to let all of you know here on the 80-20 Baseball Podcast first. And until next week, take care of yourself, your health, your families, close friends. Take care of the people and the things around you that are the most important. 80-20 your life. 80% of your focus and love and attention on the 20%, the people closest to you. And take this information out there and be a better coach. I was telling some people earlier today, I said, knowledge is not power. Information is not power. Knowledge and information and education does you no good. Learning and education, it does us no good. No good. Absolutely no good. Unless we implement it. Unless we take action with it. Unless we embed it, we implement it, we use it. And it's not going to go perfect at first. It may. Most likely it won't. But you got to use your information that you're learning, your knowledge. You have to put it into action or it does you no good. It does the world no good. So take this out to the field. And until next week, adios.
This has been the 80-20 Baseball Masterclass. Take it to the field.